Okay, so this is part 2 of the rear belt skipping fix for the Yokomo YZ10. So if you go back and look for the part 1 video I made of this, I was talking about how when the rear drive pulley the teeth start to wear out just a little bit, it creates enough of a gap between the pulley teeth and the belt teeth for the belt to actually start skipping along the drive pulley when you apply sharp power inputs. So what I had previously suggested doing was to use your standard belt and to basically add some 3x8mm or 3x7mm bearings to the top motor mount screw to basically push the top belt down and increase the belt tension while also wrapping more of the belt around the drive pulley. I tried this out on the track. It does work, but the problem is it tends to make the belt too tight, so the motor runs hot, the batteries get hot, and it actually accelerates the rear belt wear. I've already snapped several rear belts using that approach. So what I figured I'd try to do was to find a way to increase the amount by which the belt wraps around the rear drive pulley without snapping the belt, without excessively increasing the belt tension. So what I ended up doing was ordering larger belts, because on the 870C and on the 94 YZ10, again, you cannot adjust the rear belt tension. You can only do that on the works models. So on those models, instead of getting the 192mm belt length belts, just go up by 1 tooth and get the 195mm belt length belts. So these are from Polybelt. It's 4mm wide belts at 195mm length, 3mm pitch. I get most of my belts from Polybelt. They're really great belts, and they're generally much stronger than the tough racing belts that you would get. These have a shallower spine and they're narrower, so these things will snap like a twig in your YZ10 if you use them the way I do. So I go with the Polybelt belts. They have a thicker spine, and the spine, even though the spine's thicker, it's not going to rub against the gearbox casing or anything like that. Generally a lot stronger. So what I did was, okay, I go up 1 tooth, so you go from 192mm to 195mm belt length. That puts a lot of slack in the belt, but you end up picking up most of that slack with this bearing that's on the motor mount screw. So with a 1 tooth larger belt and the 3x8mm bearings on this motor mount screw, that feels pretty good, but maybe it's on the loose side. So what I'm going to try the next time I go to the track is using a 3x10mm bearing, and we'll see how that works. So basically I can play around with the size of the bearing to tune the belt tension with a larger belt on the rear belt here. So I figure I have much more tunability this way than with the stock belt length, which is relatively tight and doesn't give me much room for playing around with belt tension. So this should be much better. And I have 3x7, 3x8, and 3x10mm belts. With the 3x10, it's already, I'd say moderate belt tension, definitely lower tension than what I had with the stock belt and the 3x7mm bearings on the top motor mount screw. But I get about the same wraparound of the drive pulley, so hopefully I shouldn't see any skipping of the belt along this drive pulley. So I'll try it out, and maybe I'll just post a running video of this car and just make a comment in the comment section about how well it worked or not. But I just want to update you guys on this, because I told you guys, I suggested to you guys to use the stock belt length with a certain type of bearing here, and that ends up snapping the belts more, even though it does technically work. I want to give you guys an actual solution to this problem, so this appears to be a better solution. 1 tooth longer gives you more slack, and then you can play with more bearing sizes to pick up that slack and get just the right tension on the rear belts. Okay, so that's it for now, and thanks for watching.